Hello, welcome to Mindset to Results. Today we have amazing guest Gissele Taraba. She is the author of the book which is called Reimagining Work, and we will speak about the self-compassion today. How to be self-compassion when we start business and when it really takes time to build our success. Hi, Gisele.
Hi, Elena. How are you?
Great, great. Good to see you at our
Thank you.
podcast. You're most welcome. Tell us about your journey from being head of HR and having so much responsibilities, managing so many departments, having secured a good salary, and then leaving everything behind and starting your own business. How self-compassion helped you and what we can learn from your journey today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I want to start with so I wanted to work in the child welfare system since I was 15. Parents had horrible childhoods, and I thought, like, this is my way to help them. I'm gonna go into the child welfare system and I'm gonna revolutionize it. So that was since I was 15, that was my original thing. Fast forward, I finally lived my dream of working within the child welfare system. And I took a very indirect route. I didn't want to be a social worker that knocked on doors and did all of that stuff. And so I ended up getting a master's in research methods and quality assurance. And so that's the way that I sort of went on that path. And I was on that path. And my few years, like my first, like I would say 5, 7 years were the best. I loved my job. I loved what I did. I was on my chosen path and I made very good money doing that. And I actually got promoted to a director and I was managing, I think, 6 departments at the time, including HR. I was managing finance, I was managing IT, and I had very good staff too that, like they just needed support and like in order for them to come together as a team, but each of their departments were doing really well. Um, and so uh and so I started to feel like I no longer fit anymore. Like I had like a bigger calling, if you may. Like in my heart, what I really wanted to do was start to bring more compassion into the system. I saw systems where the staff were burning out. The children and the families were struggling. There was so much trauma, and we were re-traumatizing them. And I thought this system needs to change. It's very fear based. It's not conducive to bringing more love and bringing more success and bringing more flourishing. And so I started to really focus my work on bringing compassion into it. And I started studying compassion um, because of all the burnout I was seeing in my staff. The primary thing about leadership is relationship management. As you know, like relationship management is the whole thing. And so many people struggle at work because of relationship issues. So as I started studying compassion, I sort of found this compassion for myself, which was actually really incredible. And the more compassionate I became, the more my relationships became harmonious, the more I was able to engage in conversation, lean into difficult conversations, and stay in sort of resolved conflict. Um, but I could start to see that the messaging and what I was trying to do was not necessarily welcome in that environment. And so I was lying in bed one time and I remember saying to God, source, universe, look, I can't do both because our particular company was going through an amalgamation. And so they were really asking me to ramp up my role and really play kind of a leadership role, like help usher my staff and the rest of the staff into this new amalgamation. And so I was being asked to do more. And at the same time, I felt this inner calling. So I was lying in bed and I remember saying to God, source, universe, I can't do both. You need to tell me, like which way I'm going to do and what's it going to be. And then I'll do that. And a few days later, it ended up being that I got this situation where I had runway for a period of 2 years. And so I left that organization and started my own business, started, like I started a podcast, which I never thought I would do. I didn't even know what podcasts were about. I started a podcast. I was teaching courses. I was actually coaching people at the time. And so I was, like I did my 2 years and I was doing like everything that I found exciting, growing my business. And after 2 years, the plane still hadn't taken off. Not in the way I had envisioned it. I mean, I had done some incredible things, right? Like I was really guided to write a book about how to shift my, like how to work differently, and talk a little bit about that later. Um, and I started it, but I hadn't really kind of moved it forward. I was doing things that I thought were going to propel my business forward. So after 2 years, after my runway had sort of ended, I was not where I wanted to be. I was not successful. And I had left a very high paying job, very secure. And that was my whole thing. Growing up, security was a big thing. My parents, especially my mom, grew up in poverty. And so leaving a secure job for something insecure, my husband has a business, but again, as we know, two business owners, like together, I was always the security when things were kind of like not flowing. And so left the security to follow my heart in this career path. And after 2 years, like there was no sign that things were working. I felt like I was working, felt like I was swimming upstream. Because I was also taught to be a big grinder, right? So I just kept grinding even more and more and more and more. And I got to the point where I'm like, I don't know why things aren't working the way that I think they are. I had a lot of expectations too. I thought business had to be done a specific way. And I started then to surrender and start listening to my heart more and say, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just working harder, not getting any closer. And the first thing really was around not being so hard on myself in terms of defining what success looked like. For me, the shift in careers and the fact that not being successful, like after the 2 years, was really challenging for me because I had derived my personal value from success. And I was always very successful in the working world in terms of roles. And so I had ascended to the role of director, and now is being asked to start over from a place of like, I'm not really known. I'm not really known for what I'm doing in terms of love and compassion. And so starting from that was very humbling. And so I had to learn to really kind of become my own best friend because my thoughts weren't always my friends. They were telling me that I wasn't on the right track or this was moving too slow. And I had a lot of worries about income. But surprisingly, or not surprisingly now, things just sort of fell into place once I allowed them. Like opportunities came to me. Like I got an opportunity to teach and be a professor, which is something I had wanted to be to do in a long time. I had a chance to do a TEDx talk, which was incredible for me, which also led to now I'm working on an incredible documentary. So success did not look the way that I thought it would, but it wasn't until I opened up the space for me to actually do all of these amazing things. Um, and that's where the compassion really came in. I had to allow myself to grieve, to make mistakes, to fail, not judge myself for it, and not criticize myself for it, and not belittle my own value for it. And so that's sort of like the long answer to how compassion sort of led me to doing something that it makes me much happier than when I was in child welfare and has given me way more opportunities for success than I could have ever asked for.
Mm. Yes, yes. So it all takes time and effort, and also having faith that it will be successful. So from what you shared, you did that first so brave step to leave already something that was important for you and something that was secure, but what you felt that doesn't serve you anymore, doesn't align with who you were, and you step into the unknown with the enthusiasm to create your own business. And this is very, very great that you did that, because now when you look back, although you had that period of challenges and so many doubts and uncertainty, now you see results. Yes. And it is not that the results come early, as you said, that 2 years there were no results. And I think that many people stop there. Yes, they see like 1 year, 2 years, no results, and then they say, oh, it is not for me. I just go back and to have that secure work, and then they just stay there. Yes, and don't live the life that they meant to. So it is so important to really continue. Yes, you continue and have faith and just do what works. If those 2 years didn't work, you found something that works. So it is, you will always succeed if you don't fail. Of course, if there is demand for what you do, yes, because if we do something that nobody wants, of course, we will not succeed. But if really it is demand and you can do it well, you know, and you love this, you will succeed if you don't fail.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Number one is one of the things I found in my journey that is, if you have a passion for it, if something is calling you, there's a need for it, right? Like even if you don't see it, like if you're driven by that passion, it's almost like calling. You have to be willing to see the vision even when you don't see the results. Like you have to be single-minded in that way. Like you have to see that the vision is stronger than, because when you don't see it right away, you're right. It is so much easier to say, well, I can't do this, I'm going to bail. Now, I'm not recommending what I did for people. Some people can do their things simultaneously while they work. They can transition in many different ways. For me, I just couldn't do both. There was just so much involvement that I wouldn't have had time to do the things that I'm doing now. And so I needed to take that brave step. And I also needed to continue to choose to make that brave step when I did not see the outcomes, or when my fear showed up and said, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You had a secure job. You need to go back to that or find another secure job. And so I needed to allow those difficult feelings to be there and not give in to them. And so I gave them voice and space and said, hey, you're right. Yes, it feels like we have made a step backwards. And yes, we have got all of these degrees. Because I also finished, I think my original goal before I transitioned out of my job was to be an executive director. And I was sort of being groomed to be an executive director within a child welfare system. And I actually went back and did a second master's in social work. So fast forward, I have left my job. I've left child welfare. I no longer do that. And so my mind's telling me, oh my God, you wasted time. You wasted your money. Even though the organization paid for half my degree, I paid the other half. And so they're like, you wasted your money. Now you're not even using any of this. And so your mind can play really tricks on you because it's afraid. It thinks it's keeping you safe by doing those things. And so having courage to feel the vision and see your dreams and move towards your dreams can feel challenging. And that's where the compassion is really critical, because it helps you stay in the game. It helps you say, you know what, counterbalance some of those thoughts that it's not real. It's just fear. That if there was this passion or fire within you, and if there's a voice telling you that, this is your path, this is what you're supposed to do, follow it and trust it. That faith you were talking about has to be stronger than those negative fear-based thoughts.
Yes, yes, and compassion also change the energy. Yes, you can be that negative energy when your saboteurs, yes, come and say, Like, for example, judge when it says, oh, what you do, it is wrong, go back, there is nothing safe. Yes, so many people do this and how you are going to succeed. Yes, or hyperachiever who can say that, oh, you will be happy when you achieve that. So many people just follow these saboteurs, right? And they always is a negative energy. So when we implement compassion towards ourselves, we just change that energy. Yes, and we just say that, okay, this is didn't work, something that didn't work. I will do another way and I will see what works. Yes, and also not demanding from ourselves and checking that energy that we do things and we have to enjoy the process, not do things and be always like in that negative criticizing yourself or others or circumstances. Because if we really want to achieve something, we have to enjoy the process, even if it is hard, even it is not like we expected, and if it takes more time, we can be passionate and imply that compassion towards ourselves and just be kind. Yes, be kind to ourselves, understand that we do what we can, right? And it is better
Yeah.
to be in that positive state than in negative, because we will be more effective and productive.
Yeah, definitely. I love what you said. Um, I think so often we are taught by, our parents, our teachers, society, that it's all about the destination. But what you said is so spot on. It's actually the journey. There's so many times I reach my destination and I was like, oh, okay. Well, I've reached that goal. And looking back, I could have enjoyed the journey so much more. I think if you allow yourself to enjoy the journey, then you can enjoy the outcomes and at the same time not be so attached to the outcomes when they don't come through. Um, as you were talking about failing, again, it reminded me of what we teach children. We teach them that it's wrong to fail in the school system. We teach them to be afraid of failing. But if you see the most successful innovators failed and failed often, right? The guy who invented the light bulb, he failed many times before he actually got a working model. The Wright brothers, in terms of them flying, crashed in the beginning more than they crashed before they actually got a chance to fly. If they had given up any of those times, they would not have been successful. So we do our children and ourselves a disservice by not allowing them to embrace failing. And so I sort of had to rewire my brain to be okay to fail, and that it didn't say anything about me as a human being or as a person of value. And I had to also redefine what success looked like. Success in terms of like just dollars versus success in terms of like, for me, the good that I'm doing in the world, not just dollars, of course, because I need dollars to pay my bills. And success can also look like positive impact I'm having in people's lives. People saying that they've been helped by my work, or that something I said resonated with them, or that, it helped them have some self awareness. All of those things, from my perspective, are also marks of success.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with what you said. And it just choice. Yes, like always, there is a choice
Mhm.
what to think about. You can go to negative energy and sabotaging yourself and just blaming yourself or everything around. Or you can shift your perception and say that, okay, this is the process. Yes, I am embracing failures because this is how I learn. I didn't do it anywhere before. So this is the process, and this is how I will learn and who I will become, because I believe that it is not about the goal, it is about who we become in the process of
Mhm.
achieving that goal. Yes, so we grow
Yeah.
to that, and that is how everything what is aligned with that goal, and with us being at that level, this is how everything start coming together. So we can enjoy this process, and we can celebrate our wins, even if we're not there yet, but we can look back and we can celebrate what we already achieved. Yes, we can see how what we did before, how we solved situations, and a lot of things which we learned, which we're doing differently. And we can acknowledge ourselves, yes, because if we just think about what we didn't do, or I will be happy only when I achieve that goal, this never happens, because as you said, you achieve your goal and then you say, okay, what is the next? So
That's what's next. Yeah.
yeah, so this belief that I will be happy when I achieve this goal means that you will never be happy, because it always there will be next goal. So again, you will be in this
Yeah.
state. So if you don't enjoy every day, if you don't enjoy process, and if you are not happy in every day, you will never be happy, because happiness is the state of mind. Yes, it is not about having something or doing something. It is more about who you are. Yes, if you're a happy person, you will be grateful every day. You will look for something to uh, confirm that state. It's because your subconscious mind will look for other things to make you more happy. Yes, and make you grateful when you're focusing on those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I love that you said celebrating wins, because even small wins are something to celebrate. And that celebration, that acknowledgement keeps you hanging on when you don't succeed in the next goal or whatever. And so celebrating small wins is really important. The other key thing you mentioned was about self sabotage. And sometimes it's a little bit innocuous, like you don't realize like that you are in self sabotage mode. Sometimes it can be something as that, like a belief there that you don't deserve to live your dreams because maybe somebody in your family growing up, none of them live their dreams. So who are you to live your dreams? But maybe that's not obvious to you until you sort of go inward and start understanding why you behave the way that you do. It could be in the sense of creating like health conditions or lack and all of these things. And a lot of these things come from issues of self-worth, is not feeling worthy to live your dreams, not feeling worthy or lovable enough to accept the good in your life. And so sometimes a lack of success has to do with that. The other thing that I've also noticed and experienced with people that I've worked with is sometimes there's a fear of success. Like there's a real genuine fear because it actually means change. And people don't like change. And so some people will actually limit the amount of success they have because it's a change, and they're worried about losing rather than gaining. And so I was talking to this his name is Ken Honda, and he's the Zen millionaire out of Japan. And he talks about how some people's money containers are very small because because having a bigger container is overwhelming. So you can't ask for $1 million if your money container is like $100, right? If losing $100 is a big deal to you, you have $100 money container, right? Like if you can't even imagine what $1 million would look like, then that's you have a smaller money container, and you're trying to stuff something so big into something so small. So you just have to grow your money container. And now, not everyone wants to be a millionaire or a billionaire. It's whatever you decide for you means success. Like for me, I realized that all of my desire for monetary success had to do with freedom. Now, you can be a millionaire or billionaire and not be free. So you are attached to your money and you are attached to your outcome. For me, success meant freedom. And so that's what the monetary aspect was, the freedom to do what I want, when I want it, with whom I want to do it. Right. And so for me, oh, that's what it means. So my focus has always been or has been one of feelings of freedom. Is this going to make me feel more free? Is this going to enable me to have more freedom in my life and bring me more joy? and enjoy the journey more. And at the same time, obviously, allow me to pay all my bills and then some.
Mhm. Yes, of course. Everyone's definition of success is different. So create your
Yeah.
own definition of success and just do what brings you joy. Yes, and be passionate about what you're doing. And of course, allow yourself to make mistakes because we all are humans. Yes, and don't judge yourself so much. But if you continue, if you do every day what it takes, what you can do, learn from other people who already done that, you will be successful, yeah, if you don't quit.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too that I realized, one of the reasons also why I wasn't very successful at the beginning of my journey is because I guess there was a bigger journey in my heart or my consciousness or whatever, whatever you people believe in, that I wasn't consciously aware of. As I said, I really was stuck on my I'm in child welfare. This is where I'm going to live and breathe and die. And so when I started to have a new passion, a new vision, I didn't really know the full extent of it. But if you open yourself up to potentialities and to God's source universe vision of what your life could be, like something you've co-created and co-chosen, of course, your life can even be even more incredible than you have thought about. Like if you had asked me maybe 10 years ago if I thought I was going to be here, never in a million years would I have thought that I would be here. Never. Like, honestly, I would never have thought that I like was doing the thing that I'm doing, writing this book, doing this documentary, it's like the stuff I just was not thought I was going to live and breathe child welfare, and that's kind of where I was going to end. And so I think each of us have a larger, greater, grander vision if we allow ourselves to put down those expectations that just come from a place of fear and be open to something greater.
Yes, yes, because you never know how you
Yeah.
uh, achieve your goals. We can just see from where we are up to horizon. Yes, so
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah. I
go
love that.
further, yes, when we go
Yeah.
further, we'll see further. So many
Yeah.
people stop because they don't see all the journey and they don't know how they
Mm.
will get where they want, and that is why they don't stop. They want to have everything already like planned. Yes, and this never happens. Otherwise, you just
Yeah.
will plan and plan and plan all your life. So it is not
Yeah.
about having all the journey planned. It is about making first step. This is about having faith, really knowing what you want, have that clarity and passion, and also trust in universe, believe in yourself, and take first step. Because when we take the first step, we will see something new, like something new door. As you said, you never knew that what you would do, but if you didn't do that initially steps, yes, you this what you
Yeah.
do now, you would never have that. So it will
Yeah.
always open, and it based on your vision, your energy, and your boldness. Yes, like when you trust, it is given to you, but you should trust first. Yes, you have to like
Yeah.
understand that there are some invisible forces when will support you when you take your steps.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, I did have to learn something about trust though. So I grew up with two people that were very traumatized. They had horrible childhoods or not great childhoods. And so I was taught not to trust anyone in the family, not to trust life, certainly not going to trust some unseen God somewhere. Even though I think what helped me was that I did have some sporadic but really meaningful experiences with God source universe where I was guided, I was told, I was given when I had asked and I had no other recourse. And those sort of held me on. But I really had to realize that my lack of trust didn't have to do with anyone else other than myself. I did not trust myself to cope with the uncertainty, with the betrayal, with anything negative happening in my life. And so my learning to trust was one of my things that I had to learn in this lifetime, was really focusing on understanding that it's not about anyone else. It's about me and my belief in myself and my ability to take steps and my ability to be willing to then open up myself to God source universe. And so the journey of trusting has been really, really key. And if I reflect on how I acted in the past, it was definitely one of those. I was one of those people that I need to see exactly where this journey is going. I need to know step by step by step. And I need to control this journey as much as possible because anything else is too frightening. Because I've had some trauma and abuse myself in my life. And so learning to surrender, learning to open up that space in the beginning felt really frightening, but my willingness to have the courage and not to redo, because I already knew what that path was and I already knew I wasn't happy. The willingness to stay on the journey and open up myself to surrender has been one of the best things that I have learned to do. Challenging because of the lack of trust that I was gifted with, but definitely, definitely worth it.
Yes, yes, because if you just want to have everything already known and have that certainty, you will miss so many opportunities because they just go by and
Yeah.
you say, no, I don't know, this is not clear, this is not doesn't have me all picture. And all these opportunities will pass and you just will stay where you are. Yeah, because everything new will bring uncertainty. So you have to somehow trust the process that in the future all the dots will be connected, yes, and do your best. Yes, it really takes faith
Mm.
and determination, commitment, and for this you have to know what you really want, what is that big thing which you want to do, and that you will feel that this is I'm fulfilled, I'm doing something that I really love to do.
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
Giselle. Tell us a
Definitely.
little bit about your book.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. It's not the book I thought I was going to write, to be honest. And let's even back up. I wasn't really ready to write a book the time when I wrote it. Again, I was so focused on being successful that I was like, I don't have time to take time out to write a book. It takes time to write a book, right? But I kept getting messages like, write the book, write the book, write the book. And I was like, I don't know. And so I have a friend who is like, very in touch, listens to spirits and, like very in touch with, the messaging. And so she came over to my house because we invited her and another friend for dinner. And, the other friend was talking to my husband. I was in the pool with my friend. We were just chit chatting and whatever. And then she looks at me like very just suddenly and she goes, when are you going to write this book? And I was like, okay, I guess I'm writing this book. So the book I thought I was going to write, which I sort of did and didn't, was about compassion in the workplace. Having worked in HR for so long, I saw so many issues that could have been handled differently in a more humanely and more loving way. And so I do talk in the book about compassion, listening and speaking, and some of the HR things that I saw, not with specific names. These are all like random names for like compilations of things that I experienced. Um, but just how they could have been handled a little bit with more humanity and why we do the things that we do. But the first part of the book was really about me exploring myself and my relationship with work. And at the time, especially, workplaces have really changed. Like at the time when I was writing it, it was in the middle of COVID. Um, and it was like reflecting on even just how much humanity we have lost throughout in terms of workplaces, how people sort of became widgets, how policies and procedures really dehumanize people. But I had to sort of flip it on its head to try to see where was I in that relationship? Where did I allow myself to be taken advantage of? Where did I value like being valued over maybe being paid appropriately. So I really had to shift the perspective of earning, of gaining money, of receiving, of even how and you talked about energy, how my energy allowed me to attract certain things and not others, how I was out of or in and out of alignment in terms of what I was desiring and what identities I was holding as the person who valued the grind and valued being seen as, oh, look at how much I overwork myself. This is my badge of honor. And how at times, sometimes the less I did, the more I attracted, which seemed very weird to me. And so this book really was an exploration of myself and my relationship with work and how we view work. And maybe perhaps what the universe has in store for us in a very different way if we open up ourselves to it. But I also do talk about compassionate work in terms of like listening and speaking and sort of shifting our perspective and how work could look like in a future, in terms of what we can open up ourselves to receive. Like there's been instances where contracts and situations just kind of came and landed on my lap. And I don't even know where these people came from. My husband has had the same experience too. He's very energetically aligned. Like he never advertises and people find him. People just come out of the woodwork and offer him things, which is like amazing. And so I was really reflecting on, is that maybe the way we're supposed to be? Like, are we supposed to be just more in alignment where things just come to us and people find us and we find them as we need them? And so that's sort of the way that I wrote this book. And so I put it out there as my offer of love. And this led to my TEDx talk, which has led to some other amazing things. And now I'm in the process of writing a second book. I'm not actually writing it with my daughter. And this one is called, like my first one is called Reimagining Work. And the second one is called Reimagining Education. Because I think that we have created an education system that worked maybe during the factory times, right? Like creating good workers, but now no longer works. With AI so prominent and being able to summarize information, the school system has to change. So, how could it change in a way that it could help foster the most flourishing people? And what role does love and compassion, especially self love and worth, have in helping us really live our biggest, boldest dreams? And so I'm actually co writing this book with my daughter because it's been a while since I've been to the education system. I mean, I'm a professor at a university, so I see things with my students, but I'm doing it from that lens. And I mean, it's been a long time since I was in elementary school and so on. And so he, as an 18-year-old, just is graduating from high school and still remembers elementary school. And so we are co-writing it together so that we can share the different perspectives and see how much it has changed and hasn't changed. And so it's really a reflection in building on how do we stop creating workers and we start helping people live their most flourishing lives by examining the messaging we've received and the messaging we would desire or wish we should put out there. And one of the reasons why I decided to write this book is that I see sometimes so much apathy in the world, and I don't understand sometimes how people just accept the circumstances of life, like the things that are going on in the world, the war, people just sort of accept. But if you actually look at the education system, we've been programmed to actually just receive information. We are not taught to critically think, view opposing sides or perspectives, to really think for ourselves and think in deviant ways. We've been taught to really just fit in a box. And so it's not surprising that the majority of people think that way and just accept they're passive recipients of information they're taught. And so, how can we shift these systems? First, by shifting ourselves, obviously, but shift these systems so that they can help us create more flourishing people.
Yes, great, great. Thank you so much for sharing about these so impactful books. And
Thank you.
We put in all the links in description, so people who looking for these insights from you and your daughter can have access to them.
Yeah, I'm very excited because you're such a different, in a lot of ways, our perspectives are very similar. In other ways, they differ. And so I wanted to give that perspective of us putting together. So we're in the process of finalizing the book right now. So, but it's been a great journey.
Thank you so much, Gissele. We discussed great topics today. I enjoyed our conversation. So, what will be one advice to people who share, who listening to us about compassion? Yeah, maybe something that you would like summarize before we wrap up this episode.
Yeah. So in terms of compassion, so often we've been taught that criticism is a motivating, like it's a motivating force. And it is up to a very small point. So people have been taught to criticize themselves into motivation, but has the law of diminishing returns. So you criticize yourself, and maybe that might push you to motivate yourself. But eventually, if you keep criticizing yourself and pushing yourself, there's a sharp decline. That's why there's so much burnout right now in the world. I invite people to understand that self love and self compassion, being your own cheerleader, speaking to yourself as you would your closest friend, motivating yourself, believing in your dreams is way more powerful and more motivating than any sort of criticism or inner harshness you could have. I know we've been taught that that's not the case or that it's selfish or narcissistic. This is not true. The world is so topsy turvy. That should be your evidence that what you've been taught is not correct. Motivating yourself with self kindness and a belief in yourself and nurturance helps you go the long distance. It helps you have courage to stay in and hold on to your vision when everything else is telling you that it's a no go. And there have been many very successful people, from movies to that movie, what's it called? Everything All at Once. Got rejected for 10 years. And after it became a movie, it won Academy Awards. J.K. Rowling, regardless of how you feel about her personal views, got rejected so many times before Harry Potter became really popular. There's so many instances in life where the world on the outside is telling you, no, 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 but something in your heart is telling you should go for it. Trust that. Have the courage to believe in that and motivate yourself with self kindness and self love so that it can help you stay in the game.
Yeah, such a great resume of our episode today. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on this show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you too, of course, for sharing your life experience and knowledge. And I'm looking forward to see you again in our future episodes.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.